Yeah, so I think I mean we're all very good at kind of like overthinking. I would say things, and we're always worried that okay, what if something goes wrong and like all of that. But I think for me, entrepreneurship is all about doing. Entrepreneurs are people who do things, and that's why I always say that like don't think, do think. And what I mean by that is that it's very important to actually do. And when you are doing things, you are learning. So I'm a big believer in learning by doing. So it's always the best way to learn. And this also kind of like approach to kind of like marketing that always have these discussions. No matter if it's like working on Angry Birds at Rovio or like. Could be like any company, any project that we have a great idea. Should we save it for later? And then I always say that no, let's not save it. Let's like move. Let's get it done. And when we do, we create new opportunities always. So basically, what you think is now like a great idea. Yeah, it's a great idea, but maybe we will stumble upon something even greater. And I've seen that happen like all the time. So I really believe that it's very, very important to do things and not think about it too much. I mean, of course, I'm not advocating that, okay, let's not like think at all and let's just do random things. I mean, the point here is that let's not overthink it. Let's get things done. Let's learn. Let's do more things. And I think that, the classic question that I always get is that, okay, when is a good time to start a company? And I say that, like yesterday would have been, really good, but today is, equally good. So like just get it done. Don't think about it. But actually, start your company. If that's what you want to do, you should, just start and not worry that, but what if it fails and like all of that. Most companies actually will fail. That's normal. And then you can like do something else. So, I really, really think that it's important to get things done. And that's why I typically say this, like, don't think, do think. So, yeah.
You began your career at HP and spent more than 10 years, 14 years there.
Yeah.
How did you make the transition from being an employee to becoming a successful entrepreneur? Can you share your story with us? I mean, what is the secret of your success? Because it is very difficult to be a white-collar worker and then being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, but I think that, HP is kind of like a very entrepreneurial environment. I mean, let's say that, of course, it's a big corporation, but I think that in any company, you can, if you want, you can get things done. And I think that my experience then working at HP, I wouldn't have been there for many, many years unless I would have had the freedom to do, pretty much whatever I like to do. So I always created an environment for myself where I could get stuff done. So you could say that okay, now people talk about like these entrepreneurs and like all of that, but I always been an entrepreneur. So even when I was at HP, I was building stuff and doing new things. And we started something called the HP Bazaar, actually all the way back in 1999. And the idea was to make it very easy for startups to work with HP. And we built, like a co-working space before co-working. We did hackathons that we call bazaar camps before, hackathons became a thing. So we did a lot of these things very, very early. And I think that, yes, I worked for a big corporation, but what I was doing was not kind of like your regular, like white collar kind of like job, but I actually was allowed to build kind of like new things. And we ended up working with about 600 startups. I mean, one of the startups that came out of those bazaar activities was Rovio. So Niklas, Kim, and Jarno, they took part in one of these game-making competitions that I organized in 2003. They won the competition, came to me, what do we do now? I said, okay, you guys, like love making games. Why don't you start a company to do what you love to do? That's the most important thing. So they started Rovio in 2003, and then it took, 6 years, 51 games, 52nd game, Angry Birds. Also met Ilkka, who now everybody knows because he started Supercell, but he was working at Sumea when I first met him. That became Digital Chocolate that they did together with Trip Hawkins. Actually, I just saw on Facebook that Trip turned 70, so congratulations, Trip. So Trip is like the founder of EA and many things. But anyway, So, you know, it's like a very tight, small community, of course, here in Finland, but also globally. So again, and, you know, I always like to say that, you know, I started my career or my like entrepreneurial journey, I should say, at the original tech startup. So, you know, HP was the first one. Bill and Dave started the company in their garage, 1939, Palo Alto, California. They met at Stanford. You know, and then the professor suggested that why don't you start a company, and they did, and it became pretty big. And I mean, then fast forward like some tens of years, Sergey and Larry met at Stanford. They went to their garage. I think it was like in Menlo Park. It was actually the garage of Susan Wojcicki, who later, you know, she was running YouTube for many years, but it was like her garage where then they started Google, and you know, so on and so on. So yeah, I mean, Silicon Valley is full of, you know, what used to be startups, then became like pretty big ones. You know, Apple always prides itself that they are the biggest startup on the planet. So yes, they are a big corporation and actually one of the most, they are the most valuable one, but they still, you know, like, you know, are true in many ways to their like startup roots. So yeah, I think that it's kind of like up to you as a person what you make the environment to be, and I think that for me that was very much the case. That at HP I had the freedom to make stuff happen, and of course it helped that I became good friends with Carly. So Carly Fiorina that came in as new CEO. So always helps in these big organizations when you have the support of the CEO. You know, so I had a lot of freedom, and I was able to make a lot of things happen. So it was like a also like very entrepreneurial environment, even though of course big corporation. So yeah, that's where I started, and then been involved with many startups, Rovio and Angry Birds, but then currently you know, angel investor, advisor, board member, co-founder, founder, many companies. So and a big focus on education. So you know, besides entrepreneurship, love education. So I always say that it's about this kind of like triple E approach, so education, entrepreneurship, and then entertainment. So we should always try to make what we do a bit fun. So entertainment and entertainment industry we can learn a lot from. So always look at these like 3 E's. So this kind of like triple E model to transformation, if you want to throw another like buzzword into the discussion. But yeah, that's me.
I mean, you have already, I mean, great make summary, but you thought everything was very smooth. So, I mean,
yeah.
Can you share this sometimes when no one believed in your vision, especially 50 games, I mean, 51 games,
Yeah.
and you proved them wrong? Or was it hard when you were building these 50 games and still believing in yourself?
Yeah, but let's yeah. One thing that I think if you look at any like entrepreneurial journey, or you look at any company, any startup, so I think that we always hear about, okay, you know, like the success and like what went right. But I think that of course, you know, like in any of these, and I mean, I was many years at HP, many things worked, many things didn't. And same thing, you know, like, okay, the Rovio example, many games, and then 50-second game, Angry Birds, and that became pretty big. But I think that this is true for pretty much like all activities, that, you know, there's always, you know, a lot of challenges. But the thing that I really always have believed in is that you just have to keep at it, and you have to kind of like believe that, okay, we know what we're doing, we know where we want to go, and of course there's like a lot of challenges, a lot of obstacles, and you know, there are just you know, things that we need to deal with, and sometimes it takes a bit longer to kind of like get to the success. And I think that it's very difficult then to say that, you know, when should you give up? You know, I think it's a very tough question. And I think that, you know, you could also, like, if you're a games company, you make 10 games and then, you know, like no success, that should we like stop what we're doing? But I think that if you love what you're doing, if you believe in what you're doing, then you know that you will be successful, like eventually. And I think that this is for me kind of like the most important thing, that what keeps me going, because I know that, you know, given enough time, you will be successful. And then you just need to basically make sure that you can kind of like survive long enough. I think that is also for a lot of companies. I mean, there's the golden rule of venture capital, that, too early, too late, so the timing is critical. It's actually many times even worse to be too early because, if you look at Rovio as an example, or even you could say Sume and Digital Chocolate and like a lot of these early days mobile games companies, also King, behind Candy Crush and now Activision and now Microsoft, they also started in 2003. So a lot of the very successful companies, they started too early because, 2003, not a great market to make mobile games. This was 4 years before the iPhone, many years before Android, all of that. So you could say that it was too early, but again, my original don't think, do think kind of thing, that also when you do these things, you learn. If you make many games, of course you learn, you make better games, and no matter what product, what service, you always learn. So I think that's why I'm such a big believer in kind of like actually like doing things, learning things, so learning by doing, and then you just have to believe that that you know what you're doing and that you know where you want to go. So I think that is kind of like what it boils down to.
Peter, what mistakes did you make when you started as a founder? Looking back, do you think that there is something you should have done differently at that time? Or what advice should you give yourself, your 25-year-old self, about working, starting a company and life? What should be that?
Yeah, I think that same advice that I'm kind of like now saying, that, don't like over analyze, don't overcomplicate. Just like go out there and do things. So I could always say that, do more faster, earlier. That's probably like one thing. But yeah, I don't think that there's like many things that I would do like differently. I think that it's always a learning experience, and it's very difficult to then say that, okay, if I would have done this thing differently, this might have happened. I think it's impossible to kind of like say. And I think that I personally take all of these things that I've done, be it, like working at HP or Rovio, or, like starting Slush, or any of the startups that I'm involved with. It's always like learning, and then you are in a better place to kind of like do the next thing. And then there are many things that I learned that are then like very easy for me to make happen. And if I'm doing the right things, I'm focusing on things that are easy for me and very difficult or even impossible for other people. So then I'm kind of like using what I do and what I know how to do in the right way. So I think that's something that is always like important to kind of like keep in mind. Yeah.
When you asked the Finnish students whether they would be an entrepreneurs 10 years ago at an university speech, you mentioned that 3 of them only raised their hands.
Yeah, out of 600 students at Aalto, when I was talking about startups and entrepreneurship. So this was in 2007, so quite a while ago already. But anyway, 600 students, only 3 raised their hand when I asked that, okay, how many want to start a company? And that's actually the reason we started Slush. Excuse me. So the reason we started Slush was not to make a great event. That was not like the thing, but it was all about changing the mindset, changing the attitude of like the whole nation. So we also wanted to make sure that it's not like just the kind of like startup bubble or like this like startup ecosystem, but we wanted everybody in Finland to get more entrepreneurial. So we worked a lot with media, a lot of this. So now when you ask anybody, any little village, any street in Finland, you stop a random person, they all know about Slush. And I think that what we set out to do was really to change this mindset. And I think 5 years after starting Slush, went back to Aalto and I asked the same question, and then more than half the hands went up. And this is actually now true when I go to high schools. I visited, I think, about 100 high schools in Finland last 12 months, and then also many universities. So in every university, every high school in Finland, when I ask the question, typically nowadays half the hands go up. So everybody is interested in starting a company, and actually what they're interested in, like changing the world. And I think that I mean, Finland is known for having one of the best educational systems on the planet, but I always say that who cares if you have the best education on the planet if you don't do anything with that? And this is again the entrepreneurship. So we need fantastic education, we need entrepreneurial mindset, and then we need to make the whole thing like fun. So the entertainment piece there, and then I think that we're like onto something. And yeah, I'm a big believer in kind of like the future of you know, what I call the finest Bay Area. You know, so Finland, Estonia, Sweden, we have highest number of startups per capita, highest number of unicorns per capita, and also the biggest amount of venture capital being invested into local startups per capita, like here in our part of the world. So I think that now my big focus is making sure that we have the talent to support this growth and this development. So that's why I'm very interested in kind of like bringing in more international students to our universities, also bringing more young people to our high schools, vocational schools from all over the planet. So we can offer fantastic education, we can offer a fantastic ecosystem to start a company, to be an entrepreneur, you know, basically to change the world. So I think that, yeah, the future is all about the people. So it's always like that. And I think that the ones with the talent will win, and you know, that would be us. So we're working on making sure that we have the highest talent density like anywhere on the planet. And I think, you know, Slush is a great example of what can be done. I mean, we had over $3 trillion in venture capital gathered at Slush, so it's by far the biggest gathering of capital anywhere on the planet any given time, and it's in Helsinki and it's in November. So, you know, cold and dark, slush on the ground. So that's kind of like a good example of the fact that anything is possible if you can like set your mind to it and, you know, like just start making it real.
Building an ecosystem is, I mean, challenging, especially the people changing the mindset of people is very challenging and long term.
Yeah.
How did you overcome that? And additionally, we have seen last decade lots of successful Finnish companies and also Nordics and Baltics as well. To Finland's example, what is the secret sauce?
Yeah, I mean, we put young people in charge. I mean, when you come to Slush, the whole event, biggest, best startup event on the planet, it's all built by young people, and they are in charge. They make it happen, and this is something that is quite different from everywhere else. I mean, if you go to many of these, what I would call like wannabe Silicon Valley events, you know, you have. Of course, there are young people there, but typically they're making coffee and handing out the badges. They're not like in charge. And at Slush, you know, the young people are running the show. They are doing everything. Yes, they are also making coffee and handing out badges and like all of that, but they are actually also running the show. So we have 1,600 volunteers like last year at Slush. And the whole idea with that is that you join Slush, you know, as a volunteer. You do that for a year, 2-3 years, and you learn how to build the biggest and best startup event on the planet. You can like, you get the mindset, you get the attitude, the ambition. And once you do that, then you like you go out there after, you know, your Slush experience, and you build the biggest and best startups. And we have many examples of exactly that happening. So you could say that Slush is the biggest training program for future founders, future entrepreneurs. And it really, I think, boils down to the mindset and you know, so the attitude and the ambition. I think that is really what it's kind of like all about. And Slush is great at delivering that at scale. And yeah, we see the results in not only Finland, but I mean in the whole like finest Bay Area. So fantastic, you know, ecosystem in Estonia, in Sweden. And then when you look at this whole area, I don't think that anywhere else, you know, comes close.
I mean, when I visited these geographies, especially Nordics and Baltics, I noticed that there's also competition between these all countries. How does this rivalry contribute to progress?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see like much of the competition really. I mean, of course, everybody always wants to do better and better, but I see a lot of collaboration. I mean, it's the same. If I look at the games industry in Finland, I mean, of course, you could think that we are all like competing and everybody's like fierce competitors of everybody else. Of course, I mean, when it comes to talent, I mean, there's of course always competition, but in the end, like if you look at the market, we're competing for the attention, we're competing for the time of the people. When I was at Rovio and working Angry Birds, I was asked that, okay, who's the competition? So I said, okay, Disney, because I mean, positioning all areas of entertainment, and then all of television. And the point I wanted to make is that we are competing for the attention of the people, for the time of the people. We all have limited time, limited attention span. So that's the competition. And if you look at the games companies, the game startups here in Finland and in like the region, we are comparing those, sharing best practices. If I need to know about, the latest and greatest in, I don't know, video advertising, I'll go and talk to the people who are best at that, or like it could be like latest and greatest user acquisition strategy or something. I can talk to the guys who are actually best on the planet and compare notes with them. So it's very collaborative, and I think this is actually kind of like our mindset. I think this is it's a Finnish thing. You could also say that it's a Nordic thing, but it's true, kind of like I would say for the whole like finest Bay Area here, that we don't have this thinking that for us to win, somebody else has to lose. I think that you can have win-win, but I really think that is true. So it doesn't if one games company is successful, it doesn't mean that others couldn't be. So it's again we have both Rovio, Supercell, okay, Small Giant Games. There's lots of success stories in games, and I think that because we have a fantastic ecosystem, it's very supportive, and people understand that if we work together, we can all be like more successful. So it's not like a win-lose, but it's a win-win situation. So I don't think that I think that it's like healthy competition, and it's healthy collaboration. So it's not it's not working on this assumption that in order for somebody to win, somebody else has to lose. I think that most people realize that it's not like zero sum, but there's opportunity for everybody to be a winner, basically.
You have exited Rovio, and now you are doing your own investments.
Mm-hmm.
And what is your process? How do you select the startups, and what are your red flags that you don't invest?
Yeah, I think that the most important thing, people. So the founders. I think that is really like super important for me, and the biggest criteria. And then always people who are doing things differently. I think that is also kind of like important. So really looking for not more of the same, but really new approaches, new things. So I excuse me. So I think that it's always like looking for people who are not afraid of trying new things. And also when you try new things, most of the time you fail, and then like you need to try again. But I think that it's super important that you have, first of all, strong founders, strong founding team. So it's always the classic thing that it's always about the team, but I think that is like very, very true. And that's it's about the people. I think that's kind of like the key thing. And then it's always difficult to say that what exactly. I think that it's of course, basic things, people you can trust, and then of course if people have a bit of a track record, that helps. But I think that it's the attitude and ambition. So it's like this enthusiasm and kind of like that you have a team that you can believe that they will go out there and they will like make it happen. I think that's like super important.
I mean, once you invest in the startup, how involved are you generally?
Very.
An active role or a hands-off?
Yeah, as much as needed and as much as I can. So again, I think that's something that is very important, and I like doing things and I like to be involved. So I always tell the founders they can call me like anytime. That's no problem. And then tend to be like pretty hands-on. So I like doing things.
So what are some common mistakes do you see in the startup founders make now?
I think that I mean, it varies from like company to company, obviously, founder to founder. But I think that I think that maybe one thing that I tend to emphasize, and I mean, it's again about where do you want to go, you know. So that's like important. That okay, where do we want to go, and then you need to be able to share that with the rest of the organization. So I mean, then if you are growing fast and you're adding a lot of people, you have to just like communicate. You have to say the same thing hundreds of times, and you think that everybody should know, but they don't. So just repeat, and you know, like it might feel like a bit like boring and you know, like hey, I'm just repeating myself, but that's what you need to do. So I think communication is like super important. So yeah, over communicate is like always my advice, that you know, like talk to the people and share with them where do you want to go, what do you want to get done.
You started Helsinki Tallinn tunnel project with
yeah
prior expertise, I mean,
yeah
and experience. What
yeah
gave you this confidence to take such a massive project? And
yeah, let's say that it's I don't think that it's any more difficult to do like huge projects than like smaller projects. So I don't think that, and that's been pretty much the case. Of course, it has taken a lot longer than we would like. So been you know, very busy in the background, like working with, you know, like the various authorities that we need to have get a green light from. So we got stuck like for 2 years in Estonia because of yeah, some you know, like not so effective ministers in the Estonian government, like a couple of governments ago. And yeah, I mean, we've been working very hard on moving things forward. And I think that always with these kind of projects, there's a lot of stakeholders, a lot of people that you need to get on board. And same thing there, like communicating, and we should do probably like even more of that. But yeah, I don't think that kind of like technically and from like a project perspective, it's not super complicated. But yeah, I think that what adds a lot to the complexity that we're dealing with a lot of let's say bureaucracy on both sides of the bay. So there's a lot of work on that side. But but I think that we're making good progress and still very confident that we'll get it done like before 2030. So originally wanted to have it completed already this year, but obviously we're way behind on like the schedule there. But yeah, we're moving forward. And as I said before, that you know, it's just sometimes these things take a bit longer, but there's no doubt in my mind that you know, we'll get it done because it's a good business case. And also now with, you know, when we saw what we saw with the pandemic, and of course now with the you know, the Russian genocide in the Ukraine, you know, like the whole war, that is also waking people up to the fact that Finland is an island, we need more connectivity, and the tunnel is part of improving our connectivity to the rest of Europe. So people understand now why it's important, also not just from business perspective, but let's say from kind of like a national security perspective. And now it's also you know, NATO like tunnel, so military mobility and these kind of things are also like very important. So yeah, we're moving things forward.
What is your superpower, Peter? And if you have a new superpower added to current one, what should it be?
Yeah, I think that I like working with people. So I think that is kind of like one of the superpowers that I'm pretty good at simplifying things and explain to people what we want to do, where we want to go. So I think that you know, communicating in easy to understand like terms and also then you know, like the enthusiasm and all of that is very contagious. So I think that's kind of like one of the like superpowers. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, languages are like superpowers. So I think being able to speak a few more languages would be like very good. So probably that's one like superpower, or a few superpowers I would add. But yeah, I think that besides that, I'm like pretty happy with like the current like superpowers, current abilities. So it's just about then doing more and doing it more faster. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Do you have also your mentors or any influential figures on your life who has been the mentor of your entrepreneurship career, for example?
Yeah, I don't know if I have like a particular like individual mentors. I mean, I talk to a lot of people like all the time, and I learn like new things from people every day. And I think that both from like older people, younger people. So I think that for me also talking to a lot of young people, like you know, I would say on a daily basis, I think that also keeps me on top of like what's happening, you know, and I think that yeah, I don't think I would single out like any individual mentors, but I would say that I learn from a lot of people on a daily basis. So every interaction you always learn, and I think that for me, yeah, that's how I understand kind of like what's going on. It's about like talking to a lot of people, understanding kind of like what's going on. So that's I don't think that there's any substitute for that, at least for me. Of course, you can, you know, like you can read a lot and you can do all of that, but it's a little bit like you know, like learning how to drive a car. I mean, of course, you can read many books, but the best way is to like actually drive the car. And I think for me also to understand then like what's going on, say in China, I mean, then I go there, I talk to the people, and then I understand like what's going on. So it's not just all the doom and gloom that you see through media. And I mean the same, you know, if you want to understand what's going on in the US, that it's not just, you know, like random shootings on a daily basis, but, you know, like people are living their lives and things are happening. So you need to kind of like talk to the people, you need to understand, create a picture, you know, an understanding for yourself. So maybe my answer there is also that it's all about the people. It's all about interacting with the people. It's all about learning from that. So that's important for me.
How does, I mean, what does a regular day look like now for you? And what is your routine?
Yeah, I don't think that I mean, I don't look at it like a regular day. I mean, it varies a lot. You know, sometimes I'm here in Finland, sometimes I'm somewhere else. Actually, more than half the time I'm traveling and I'm like somewhere else. So I don't think that there is kind of like a regular day. I don't think that I have kind of like such a thing. I'm always on the move, and you know, the individual days look like very different. But I think what yeah, maybe one thing that I meet with a lot of people. I have like a lot of interaction every day. So you know, face to face, online, you know, yeah. So there's kind of like a lot of that. So and all like channels. So to me, it doesn't feel like I'm kind of like doing a lot, but then always when I then, okay, so what did I do? Yeah, I actually talked to a few people today and actually yesterday, and so on. So yeah, I think that every day is different, and that's also the way I like it.
And also, do you believe in the work-life balance, or how can entrepreneurs avoid burnout?
Yeah, I think that it's a little bit like when you have big companies talking about innovation. Typically, they talk about that because they don't have it. And I was always, you know, when I was at Rovio and, you know, like any company, that we didn't need to talk about innovation because, I mean, why would we do things that are not innovative, that are not, you know, novel and new in some way? You know, that's like a complete waste of time if you're doing, you know, like some kind of Me Too, you know, products and services. So I think that a little bit with the work-life balance, that I always tell people that I stopped working many years ago, because I mean, if it feels like work, you're not doing the right thing. So I think that for me, I'm not like thinking that, oh, now I'm working and now I'm not. So it's all like blended for me, that it's like all the same. And I don't I think that when you start thinking about, you know, kind of like work-life balance, then you have a problem. and I think that it's up to all of us. I mean, it's again, of course, a very big risk always. And I mean, this is as a startup founder, as an entrepreneur, you also need to be able to kind of like disconnect and relax. And I think that you have to learn to not take things too seriously. So I think that that you have to understand that it's not everything goes perfectly, and like you can't you can't control the world, so let's not even try. So I think that it's a little bit like that if you start worrying about things that you can't affect, that are not under your like control, then I think this is a big problem. And then yes, you can get burnt out and all of that. So I think that for me it's about really loving what you're doing. So you have to enjoy what you're doing. If it starts to feel like hey, I don't really want to get up today because it's going to be like another day of work, then yeah, that's not healthy. So I think that yeah, it's up to all of us individual to find like our own way of doing things. So I think that you can't like generalize, and I'm not the best person to give advice to kind of like you or to anybody else. I think that we all have to figure out what works for us.
Mm-hmm. And what books or books had biggest impact on your life? And
yeah, I don't know biggest like impact. One book that I always mention that I like, because it's a little bit like also describing how I do things, is Malcolm Gladwell's Blink, because that's like how many of decisions that you make based on your intuition are actually better than like analyzing. And then like the book is full of examples like that. So it's a little bit like this, the don't think, do think kind of like thingy. But then also, I mean, I get this question quite a bit, so typically, my standard answer is Blink. But then I was also thinking, I actually, when I was maybe it was high school age or something, I read Alvin Toffler's like The Third Wave, like this must have been like in the 80s or something like that. And I think that was also like quite impactful, like book to read, because that was like about the future, and I think a lot of those things have played out. So that's also like a very impactful book. Yeah, maybe those two I would mention like this time. But I mean, yeah, I should read more books actually, but that's but nowadays I more listen to books. So yeah.
So we started with do things, and also let's close with what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs just starting out?
Yeah, I mean, I would give that same advice, that like don't think, do think. So I think that that is like one thing, that it's really important to go out there and actually do things. I think this is something that is very, very important. I mean, always people are or many people are that, oh, can I share, that somebody will steal my idea and like whatever. And I said that yeah, that might happen, but like the thing is that if you have this idea, quite likely 100 other people have had that same idea. So it's not about the idea, it's about the execution, and you need to get people on board, help you with that. So I think that it's very important that you can like actually share what you are doing with many people. So you should always be pitching. And then the thing there is that you should also then when you do that, then people will help you. That's kind of like what people want to do. So I think that my advice would be to kind of like yeah, always be pitching, always be sharing, and like always be making things happen. So because that's how you can like make your product, your service better. So I think that this is something that is super important, that don't be afraid to talk to people.
Peter, thank you very much for the inspiring conversation. Thank you for sharing your story, and also lots of wisdom.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And hopefully see you in Istanbul soon. So I'm going to be there. Actually, I was supposed to be already this month, but I'm going to be there, I think, 1st or 2nd of February or something like that. So I'll let you know.
I will be excited to host you, welcome you in Istanbul.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
See you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.